Hey, what's going on guys, it's Chloe and welcome back to another Hypixel Skyblock video. Hope you are all doing amazing today. I'm going to talk about the most underrated dungeon items that not many people use but are actually really useful. I'll also be going through the costs of the items, what they do and how useful they will be to you. But before I get into this video, make sure you go down below and hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 10k subs, we might have already hit it by the time this video comes out, but if we haven't, make sure to go down below and subscribe. And while you're there, make sure to hit the like button if you do like this video, of course. So I'm going to show the items in order of my opinions on least underrated to most underrated. If you have a different opinion on these items or you have any other items you think are really underrated, it doesn't have to be a dungeon item, it just has to be an item that is useful for dungeons but not used as much. Make sure to comment them down below. So first item I think is really underrated has got to be the inflatable jerry. First of all, if you didn't know what this does, it's basically a jerry egg. If you place down during dungeons, all mobs will flee away from it as they are scared of it. This can be really useful for new players or players that don't have the best items for dungeons. Players that are starting out in floor 1 or floor 2 mostly don't have the best armor and weapons, as for making them die a lot. With having inflatable jerry eggs, many deaths can be avoided. As for the aspect of the end relies on mana, and if you don't have any mana and you're trapped in a corner, you can place down a jerry egg and you should be safe. Inflatable jerry eggs are obtained by getting secrets in dungeons, example chests, killing bats and dropped items on the floor. You can also buy these on auction for super cheap. I managed to cop a stack for only 50k. Second on my list is going to have to be training weights. A lot of people, when they get training weights, typically throw them out once found for the +1 strength, but instead you could just AFK on your island, stack the minutes up and use them properly. These are very useful for floor 4 and will be useful for higher floors of dungeons. The max strength you can get on a training weight is 50 and doesn't even take that long to stack up. These are also obtainable in the same way as jerry eggs. Also, if you have a friend, you could ask them if they have a bunch laying around in chests. They're most likely to just give you them for free as they aren't worth much. So if you ever just go AFK, make sure to have a few in your inventory because they will be useful at one point. Third item is going to be the machine gun bow. The machine gun bow is good for any type of class, as for you can have the ability activated while using another item. The ability of this item is called rapid fire and is activated by left clicking the bow, having it shoot 5 arrows every second for a duration of 8 seconds. This is really good while fighting mini bosses such as Lost Adventurers, Shadow Assassins and Frozen Adventurers. Overall, this item I would say is really underrated because many people think that it's not going to be good as it only comes in rare or epic rarity. So most people tend to stick with their Runin's bow, Spirit bow or Mosquito bow. You can get these as a drop, but they're mostly rare, so I suggest buying a cheap epic one from auction and making it 5-starred. At the time of recording this, the lowest bin was 45,000. The fourth item on my list is traps. Traps are very useful for floor 4, especially in the boss room. When you place a trap in the boss room on floor 4, they usually deal up to around 1 million damage to anything that steps on it. So if you're running a floor 4 dungeons and you manage to collect some traps, you can use them to help you. I usually place all mine around the middle as that's where the bear spawns. These are also obtained through secrets and are really cheap on auction. I bought a stack for only 90k, which was a bargain. Next item is the voodoo doll. This item isn't used by many players and is actually OP. With its ability acupuncture, it shoots arrows from every direction around the targeted monster. Monsters hit by at least 1 arrow are slowed and take a certain amount of damage per second for 10 seconds. This is really useful for mini bosses and only costs around 800k on auction. In my opinion, this is a must-have. So I have 2 items left, but before we get into that, if you're still watching, I just want to remind you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and maybe like the video if you're enjoying it so far. The last 2 items on my list are really underrated. The first one being the rogue sword. I feel this is really underrated because when I asked a fellow skyblocker named Leo, he mentioned this. And seems as I don't even use this, I'm definitely going to start using it. As for the sword, gives you +20 speed for 30 seconds when right clicking. This is really useful for doing speed runs for obvious reasons. You can get this all for free from the NPC Jamie in the hub, so why not? Lastly has to be the Hypixel. This sword is basically one of the best swords you can use inside of dungeons. It's last on my list because of its price. The sword, maxed out, actually cost me quite a bit, but you can probably get one for a little bit cheaper on auction. This sword is currently better than the adaptive blade. I demonstrated this in one of my past videos if you want to go check that out. If you didn't know, this sword has the ability when hitting an entity, monsters in a 4-block range will be hit for a portion of that damage too. It's the best in floor 4 because of the amount of mobs that spawn. Also, if you don't have the money for a Hypixel, you can also get the super cleaver, which is much cheaper, but it's only a rare sword. Hopefully, when floor 5 comes out, there's going to be a legendary cleaver sword, because I feel like that's going to be really OP, and I really hope it does come out. So yeah, in my opinion, those were the most underrated items. If I did forget any that you think are really underrated, make sure to comment below. And again, if you liked the video, like it. But yeah, anyway, see you next time. Goodbye.